Thanks for taking the time to review my presentation. I'm discussing a method to review student mastery per standard by exporting student assessment reports and using statistical analysis methods in Excel. During this presentation, I will go over 4 points: using D2L standards tool during assessment with an explanation and example of why we needed it, demo the process of exporting exam data with standards attached and using statistical analysis for mastery insight. Then we'll review our demo results and discuss alternative methods to collecting data and other use cases. Finally, we'll review the presentation and tell you ways to contact me further for discussion. Before we get started, here's a little about me. I'm Shola Rogers, and I'm an education technology specialist with the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center, located in Dallas, Texas. We have an undergraduate medical school, graduate medical school, a school of health professions and public health, and a biomed prep school that serves students from kindergarten through 8th grade. Over a year ago, a couple of our course directors from our genetic counseling program asked about standard mapping and importing the standards and domains from the American Board of Genetic Counseling to attach to their mock board exams. The goal was to attach the standards to their respective questions to see how well students did, not only on the exam, but specifically the subject matters assessed in the exam in order to assist in the preparation of curriculum for their future semesters as well as others. We found that although D2L gives somewhat of a breakdown per student, it doesn't give the detail the course directors were looking for and didn't give a class average or breakdown. So myself and my now retired colleague, Martha Buckby, got to work on how we could make this happen. This was our objective, and in future slides, I'll present our solution. After much trial and error, we found a method to break down the results from their exams to give them a better insight on each student and the whole class as a whole's proficiency of each standard. Take a second to pause the presentation to review the process if needed. We will go over it in more detail in later slides. To start, you'll need access to Excel. Using a similar software is possible, but the process may vary depending on its capabilities. You'll also need a standard key. If you choose to conceal your standard abbreviations, you'll need a reference key when you export your data. You'll also need a standard and question count. You want to ensure you know how many questions you have per standard for your baseline. This is super important. Communication is another important thing. Not only do you want to state clear expectations, you'll always want to pull data before any regrades for the most accurate outlook on performance. You'll need to be notified when everyone has completed the exam and if the educator would like results after regrading. You'll need to know so that you can prepare for that as well. After all is said and done, it's important to meet with the educator to go over the results. Did they notice any inconsistencies? As an instructional designer, would they like your help moving forward about restructuring modules and/or questions, creating training modules, etc.? We gain just as much from this information as they do. And lastly, I am by no means an Excel expert, and although the testing process gave me more knowledge, staring at a screen full of numbers makes them all start to look the same. It becomes easy to overlook things or get frustrated when your formulas aren't calculating the way you intend for them to. Make sure you give realistic expectations time-wise based on your expertise. Give yourself breaks if needed. The kinder you are to yourself during this process, the better chance you have for accuracy and overall satisfaction. Following the process from the previous slide, these were the results we were able to give the course directors. There's a breakdown of the exam questions per student with the correct or incorrect answer given, and the standard attached to each question. We also gave a cleaner breakdown of the student's proficiency per standard with the class average also given here. Our course had 8 students with 100 test questions and around 40 standards, so it is possible to do this on a large and small scale. This presentation will demonstrate a small scale analysis with 2 students, 14 questions, and 5 standards. First, you'll need to import or create your standards. This can be done in the D2L standards tool. D2L has great training information about this on their site as well as on YouTube if you're unfamiliar with this process. When you begin to create your exam or quiz, type in your questions as you normally would, and after the question or prompt, type in a semicolon and type in the standard abbreviation, or create a key with a number to hide the standard. Highlight the standard and make the font color white. This eliminates it from being a distraction to learners. A reason to code your standards eliminates students from having a hint about the subject matter per question. It's not necessary, but may be helpful for older students. After you've completed your exam, begin attaching your standards to your question. This can be done in mass, so if needed, it's not as tedious of a process. But remember, once it's done, you'll only need to make small changes per semester if needed at all. Once students have completed the exam, you'll need to export your raw exam data. Add your exported data to a new sheet in your key workbook or vice versa. To export your raw data, go to the Setup Report tool in your quiz function and select Attempt Details to generate via Excel. Use the delimiter number function to separate standard key numbers for each question. This is why we use a semicolon earlier when inputting the standard or standard key number in our questions. You have other options like using a comma, a tab, or other characters. I would not use a space or parentheses since those are included in your questions and could cause a mess when separating. Once the standards are separated, sit here, you'll want to eliminate any unwanted data. This includes bonus, difficulty, question number, and the duplicate questions that came from the delimiter. In cases involving multiple choice, short answer, true or false, delete the unchecked answer rows. Filter for unchecked in the answer column and delete all rows. All that should remain are the answers selected by the student, right or wrong. You'll see 0 for no points received out of 1 and 1 out of 1 for points received. In a new sheet, list your standards horizontally. Grab the students' names, questions, answers, and standard per question. Create a total number of question columns per standard and a total correct per student and a total correct for the class. Input the total amount of questions per standard under the standard keys. Use the formula function in the first column of the first standard in the first row of the student and use the if-then formula. If G3, the student's score, is 0 for H3, the student standard, then 0. If G3, back to the student score, is 1 for H3, student standard, then 1. You can plug this into your search bar online with the corresponding columns and rows and get the exact formula if you are not well versed in Excel formula. This will tally your students' correct and incorrect answers for each question. So for this question, they got a 0 on the 1 standard, so they have a 0. For this question, they got 1 correct on the 2 standard, so they have a 1 point. And these are the total number of questions per standard, and then these are our standards with their keys. Drag the formula across each student section to complete their incorrect and correct answer count. And then calculate the total number of standards correct using the auto sum tool in each student's total section and drag it across. In the row below, divide the total number of standards per student by the total number of respective standards. Change the calculation using the auto percentage tool. Continue for each student. Use auto sum to calculate the number of standards for all students. In the row below, calculate the class average using the average option through auto sum. And that's here. Format to clear readable results. The full workbook should be shared so the key is available to review, but you can also place it on the sheet like I did in this example. So we have the standard abbreviation and then we have the standard key. Then you'll want to talk about your result analysis with your educator. There are alternative ways to calculate this data as well. If you have programming knowledge, you can create a tool that will automatically produce results, which is what we currently do. Softwares like Power BI can also assist. Creating a master sheet with pre-filled formulas can also work to your advantage, but you'll need to make sure it's updated with the most current questions and standards. Also, you'll need to update your columns and rows, alphas and numbers if placements change when you begin working with your data. Use the same master key throughout the semester so you're familiar with it. As far as usages, outside of what we've already highlighted, you can work with students on a more individual level for subject matter comprehension that is very specific to them. Overall, you can review questions for wording, content, and etc. This is great for using at the beginning of the year or semester to see where students are with subject matters, and it's also great to review after a few cohorts to see if any improvement or unimprovement in your areas of curriculum. Here are a few links to the examples shown here and sites that were helpful during our trials and finalizing our process. Thanks for watching my presentation. I hope this will be a helpful insight on your students' proficiency and progress in your courses like it was for us. If you'd like to reach out for questions, suggestions, or anything, feel free to reach out to me using the email address provided or my LinkedIn page under my name, Shola Rogers. Have a great rest of your time at Fusion 2026 conference, and I look forward to learning about what your schools are doing.